As Kubernetes is a container orchestrator, it needs a container runtime in order to orchestrate. It is mostly commonly used with Docker. Hi everyone, this is Kavya from EduWaker. Welcome to today's session on Kubernetes versus Docker. Before we begin, I'd like to address the agenda. Firstly, we will start off with the basics and really understand what are containers, and then we'll talk about Docker and Kubernetes. Then we will understand the relationship between Docker and Kubernetes, that is how they work together. And finally, we will compare Kubernetes versus Docker. We'll conclude this session by understanding when it is appropriate to use Kubernetes and Docker. I hope the agenda is clear. Now kindly take up this time to subscribe to us and do not forget to hit that bell icon to never miss an update from the EduReka YouTube channel. Also, to learn more about new trending technologies, visit our page, the link to which is given in the description box below. So without much ado, let's get started. Now, firstly, we will understand what are containers. Let's start with a short definition of containers. Containers package application software with their dependencies in order to abstract it from the infrastructure it runs on. Now, containers basically offer a logical packaging mechanism in which applications can be abstracted from the environment in which they actually run. Now, this decoupling allows container-based applications to be deployed easily and consistently, regardless of whether the target environment is a private data center, the public cloud, or even a developer's personal laptop. Here's a fun fact about containers. They are basically a standard feature of the Linux kernel since the introduction of C groups by Google in 2006. Now let us understand, what does containerization do? It basically provides a clean separation of concerns as developers focus on the application logic and dependencies, while IT operations teams can focus on deployment and management without really bothering with application details such as specific software versions and configurations specific to the application. So basically, it allows the development and the operation teams in the IT organization to really work hand in hand. For those coming from virtualized environments, containers are often compared with virtual machines. You might already be familiar with virtual machines, which is a guest operating system such as Linux or Windows, runs on top of a host operating system with virtualized access to the underlying hardware. Now, like virtual machines, containers also allow you to package your application together with libraries and other dependencies, providing isolated environments for running your software services. Now, however, containers offer a far more lightweight unit for developers and IT operation teams to work with, carrying a lot of benefits. You can see in the diagram that there are three applications with their respective libraries and dependencies, along with a container runtime, host operating system, and the infrastructure. Now, the next question that really comes up is, why do we need to use containers and why is it so popular? Now, instead of virtualizing the hardware stack as with the virtual machines approach, containers virtualize at the OS level, okay, with multiple containers running atop the OS kernel directly. This means that the containers are very, very lightweight. They share the OS kernel, start much faster, and use a fraction of the memory compared to booting an entire operating system. There are many container formats that are available, and Docker is definitely one of the most popular open source container format that is supported on Google Cloud Platform and by Google Kubernetes Engine. Some of the features of containers are that they have a consistent environment. That is, containers give developers the ability to create very predictable environments that are isolated from other applications completely. Now, containers can also include software dependencies needed by the application, such as specific versions of programming language runtimes and other software libraries. For example, if you want one particular version of Java that you want to send across, here containers come in use. From the developer's perspective, all this is guaranteed to be consistent no matter where the application is ultimately deployed. Now, all this translates to productivity. Developers and IT ops teams spend less time debugging and diagnosing differences in environments and more time shipping new functionality for users. And it means fewer bugs since developers can now make assumptions in dev and test environments. They can be sure and it can be true in production. The second important feature is it can run anywhere. Containers are able to run virtually anywhere, greatly easing development and deployment on Linux, Windows, and Mac OS, on virtual machines or bare metal, on a developer's machine or in data centers, on premises, and of course in the public cloud. The widespread popularity of the Docker image format for containers further helps with portability. Wherever you want to run your software, you can use containers. The third feature is it provides some sort of isolation. Containers virtualize CPU, memory, storage, and network resources at the OS level, providing developers with a sandboxed view of the OS logically isolated from other applications. Now that you really understand what are containers, let's move ahead and talk about what is Docker. Docker is a containerization platform that packages your application and all its dependencies together in form of a Docker container to ensure that your application works seamlessly in any environment. It is basically an open platform for developing, shipping, and running applications. Now, Docker enables you to separate your applications from your infrastructure so you can deliver software very quickly. With Docker, you can also manage your infrastructure in the same ways you manage your applications. By taking advantage of Docker's methodologies for shipping, testing, and deploying code very quickly, you can significantly reduce the delay between writing code and running it in production. Basically provides the ability to package and run an application in a loosely isolated environment called a container. The isolation and security allow you to run many containers simultaneously on a given host. As we've already discussed, containers are lightweight and contain everything needed to run an application, so you don't really need to rely on what is currently installed on the host. You can easily share containers while you work and be sure that everyone you share with gets the same container that works in the same way. Now, there are some important features of Docker that I'd like to address. The first feature is that it is extremely fast and there is a consistent delivery of your applications. Now, Docker streamlines the development lifecycle by allowing developers to work in standardized environments using local containers, which provide your applications and services. Containers are great for continuous integration and continuous delivery workflows. Now, let me explain this with a tiny example. Your developers write code locally and share their work with their colleagues using Docker containers. Now, they use Docker to push their applications into a test environment and execute automated and manual tests. When developers find bugs, they can easily fix them in the development environment and redeploy them to the test environment for testing and validation. Now, when finally testing is complete, getting the fix to the customer is as simple as pushing the updated image to the production environment. This is how easy it is to use Dockers and to get your work done. The second feature is that it has a responsive deployment and scaling. Docker containers can run on a developer's local laptop, on physical or virtual machines in a data center, on cloud providers, or even in a mixture of environments. Its portability and lightweight nature also makes it very easy to dynamically manage workloads, scaling up or tearing down applications and services as business needs dictate in near real time. The third feature is running more workloads on the same hardware. Docker is lightweight and fast. It provides a viable, cost-effective alternatives to hypervisor-based virtual machines, so you can use more of your compute capacity to achieve your business goals. It is perfect for high-density environments and for small and medium deployments where you need to do more with fewer resources. Now that you understand what is Docker, let's move ahead and talk about what is Kubernetes. The evolution of container technology has led to the growth of its own popularity. Developers started to build and deploy containerized applications, breaking down monolithic applications into microservices for resource optimization and easier maintenance. For all of y'all who don't know what microservice architecture is, it is a variant of the service-oriented architecture structural style, which arranges an application as a collection of loosely coupled services. So in this type of architecture, services are fine-grained and the protocols are extremely lightweight. So as a result of organizations that are implementing microservices, the industry saw a significant spike in the use of containers, and consequently, businesses were now facing new challenges in managing and deploying them. So here is where Kubernetes enters the picture. It is an open source project that was made available by Google in 2014. Kubernetes is an orchestrator of container platforms such as Docker. Kubernetes, also known as K8s, is an open source system for automating deployment, scaling, and management of containerized applications. It allows users to define the desired state of the container architecture deployment on various substrates. Now, following user input, Kubernetes can deploy and manage multi-container applications across multiple hosts, taking action if needed to maintain the desired state. This level of automation has revolutionized the container space as it created the framework for features such as scalability, monitoring, and cross-platform deployments. Kubernetes have a lot of features. I'll be just discussing the most important ones. The first one is that it has automated rollouts and rollbacks. Kubernetes progressively rolls out changes to your application or its configuration while monitoring application health to ensure it does not kill all your instances at the same time. Now, if something goes wrong, Kubernetes will roll back the change for you. Take advantage of a growing ecosystem of deployment solutions. The second feature is it has service discovery and load balancing. There is absolutely no need to modify your application to use an unfamiliar service discovery mechanism. Kubernetes gives pods their own IP addresses and a single domain name service name for a set of pods and can eventually load balance across them. The third feature is storage orchestration. It automatically mounts the storage system of your choice, whether from local storage, public cloud providers such as GCP or AWS, or a network storage system such as NFS, Gluster, Sender, or Flocker. The last feature of Kubernetes is its secret and configuration management. Deploy and update secrets in application configuration without rebuilding your image and without exposing secrets in your stack configuration. So, what is Kubernetes? It is simply an open source system for automating deployment, scaling, and management of containerized applications. So, by this, we understand that Kubernetes and Docker can work hand in hand. So, there is a relationship between Kubernetes and Docker. We're going to discuss them now. So, if Docker is containers and Kubernetes is container orchestration, why would anyone ask, should I use Docker or Kubernetes? Now, in reality, the two tools are actually complementary to each other and help build cloud native or microservice architectures. Docker is mostly used during the first days of a containerized application. It really actually helps build and deploy the application's container or containers. In cases where the application's architecture is very simple, Docker can address the basic needs of the application's lifecycle management. Now, if the case or the scenario where the application is broken down into multiple microservices, with each of these services having their own lifecycle and operational needs, Kubernetes comes into the picture. It is not only used to create the application containers, it actually needs a container platform to run, and Docker being the most popular one, it runs on that. Kubernetes integrates with a large toolset built for and around containers and uses it in its own operations. Containers created with Docker or any of its alternatives can be managed, scaled, and moved by Kubernetes, which also ensures failover management and health maintenance of the system. As you can see in the diagram, the container lifecycle has been explained. You can see that in the Docker, there is the build and deployment of the application that has been successfully done. Once the Docker has been successfully deployed, then Kubernetes takes the responsibility to monitor and scale the application. There are great benefits to using Kubernetes with Docker. Firstly, the applications are easier to maintain as they are broken down into smaller parts. Also, these parts run on an infrastructure that is much more robust, and the applications are more highly available. Here, applications are able to handle more load on demand, improving the user experience and reducing resource waste. As applications become more scalable, there is no need to pre-allocate resources in anticipation of load peak times. Now, here both Docker and Kubernetes are backed by strong open source communities and are part of the Cloud Native Computing Foundation, a Linux Foundation project aiming to advance container technologies and align the industry around specific standards. Now that we understand that Docker and Kubernetes have a really great relationship together, let's move ahead and address the main topic of today's session, that is Kubernetes versus Docker. Firstly, we will compare them in terms of setup and installation. As you can see on the screen, Kubernetes really requires a series of many manual steps to set up the master and worker node components in a cluster of nodes. It's really hard and complicated to install Kubernetes. But on the other hand, that is installing Docker is a matter of one-liner commands on Linux platforms like Ubuntu and CentOS. So compared to Kubernetes, Docker is much more easy to install and set up. Moving on to the next difference, that is logging. Kubernetes provides no native storage solution for log data, whereas logging driver plugins are available in Docker 17.05 and much higher. So in terms of monitoring Kubernetes applications, you can use various open source tools like Prometheus, Grafana, InfluxDB, etc. Docker, on the other hand, also has tools like Prometheus, Docker API, etc. for monitoring purposes. Kubernetes supports up to 5,000 nodes, whereas Docker supports only up to 2,000 nodes. And in terms of compatibility, Kubernetes is more comprehensive and highly customizable, whereas Docker is less extensive and customizable. So for all of y'all who don't know what load balancing is, it is an efficient distribution of network or application traffic across multiple servers in a server farm. So usually each load balancer sits between client devices and backend servers, receiving and then distributing incoming requests to any available server capable of fulfilling them. As you can see in Kubernetes, you must manually configure your load balancing settings, whereas in Docker, it does auto load balancing. That is, it is automated. Now, there are various companies that use Kubernetes and Docker. Companies like Google, Shopify, Udemy, Slack, Robinhood, Delivery Hero, Stackshare, Nubank, etc. use Kubernetes every day. On the other hand, various companies like Twitter, Business Insider, Spotify, PayPal, eBay, Oxford University Press, the New York Times, New Relic, all of these companies and organizations make use of Docker. Now that we've compared Kubernetes and Docker, let us understand in what situation to use Kubernetes and Docker. So what are the choices when it comes to Kubernetes and Docker? What happens if you do choose to use only one and not the other? So there are three scenarios that I'll be addressing. The first one is Docker without Kubernetes. The second one is Kubernetes without Docker. And the third one is Kubernetes with Docker. We've already discussed the benefits of using Kubernetes with Docker, but we'll just brief up that again. So firstly, let's understand the scenario where Docker can be used without Kubernetes. Docker by itself will allow you to build container images, manage them in a registry, run containers, and communicate with them, and eventually put them together in a multi-container application using Docker Compose. So is Docker all that you need? Now, when it comes to producing and managing container images and putting containers into operation at the runtime level, the answer for the most part is definitely yes. It has become the industry standard for creating containers and getting them off the ground. Now, under Docker's current developer-centric definition of its mission, however, it has moved away from earlier attempts to go beyond its core functions. It is no longer attempting to compete with Kubernetes and other companies at the infrastructure or orchestration level. Now let's talk about the second scenario. Kubernetes does not include functionality for creating or managing container images, and it does not by itself run containers. It really needs to work with an external container source and runtime. It is, however, capable of using containers from a variety of sources, and it is compatible with runtimes other than Docker, so it is not inherently dependent on Docker and Docker alone. What Kubernetes does is it provides a rich and a very flexible and powerful framework for defining applications and orchestrating containers at scale. It is very well designed for key enterprise level tasks such as automated scaling, maintaining high availability, and operating in a multi-platform environment. It also has a large community of users and developers with a corresponding large number of add-ons and support tools. So finally, in the third scenario, what is the best choice? This is a tricky question, and the answer is most obvious, that is, use both. The truth here is that although Kubernetes can use other container sources and runtimes, it is designed to work well with Docker, and much of Kubernetes documentation was very well written with Docker in mind. The most basic Kubernetes use case is Kubernetes plus Docker, And Kubernetes includes Docker-centric tools such as Compose, which converts Docker Compose commands and settings so they can be used by Kubernetes. For its part, Docker has embraced Kubernetes and has in fact offered its very own integrated Kubernetes distribution. So the bottom line is that Kubernetes and Docker are both industry standards in their respective core areas of expertise, and together they provide a well-integrated platform for container management, deployment, and orchestration at scale. It was never really a question of Kubernetes versus Docker. It was always Kubernetes and Docker, and today this is even more true. With this, we come to the end of today's session of Kubernetes versus Docker. I hope you had a great time. If you have any queries, feel free to leave them in the comment section below, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Until next time, thank you.
I hope you have enjoyed listening to this video. Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries, and we will reply them at the earliest. Do look out for more videos in our playlist and subscribe to Edureka channel to learn more. Happy learning!